Just a year ago today, Ryan Day was fighting for his coaching career. The Buckeyes lost to a 6-5 Michigan team at home that had nothing to lose. He watched from afar as Jack Sawyer and some of the guys got into a brawl over the Michigan flag. People were questioning Day's ability to make his players tough, to get them to execute in the biggest moments. And then most importantly, everyone was so frustrated with the passive play calling and really setting the team up for failure. But little did we know, a spark was ignited. Little did we know, the Buckeyes were not going to lose another game from there to this day. They were going to become national champions and be on the brink of becoming a dynasty. The road was not easy for Ryan Day and the Buckeyes, and there still is a lot left to prove, but the journey to get here has been unlike anything we have seen in a long time. With the Buckeyes not in the Big Ten championship, they had to go straight to the playoffs, hosting Tennessee in the first round, and in hindsight, failing to reach Indy might have been a blessing in disguise that nobody really saw coming. The college football playoffs' new 12-team format allowed the Buckeyes to regroup, refocus, and enter the field without the bruises and fatigue that comes from playing on Championship Saturday. The reigning SEC and Big Ten champions both lost their first-round matchups, looking out of sync after a week off, while Ohio State, bruised but not broken, rode into the tournament as a dangerous and motivated team. Ohio State's redemption story began in the first round of the playoffs, obviously facing Tennessee, and this was more than just a football game. The program's future was on the line. You could just feel the tension before kickoff, and Day's team responded with fierce energy. The offensive line played its best football of the season, and the backfield led by Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson set the tone early. And the big play that really lit up the shoe early was the bomb to Jeremiah Smith to put the Buckeyes on the board first, and from there, they never looked back. The Buckeyes jumped out to a 21-0 lead in the first quarter, hammering Tennessee 42-17 in one of the coldest games the Horseshoe has ever hosted. The offense found its rhythm again, mixing balance and tempo in a way that had been missing during stretches of the regular season, and the defense suffocated any hope of a comeback. Tennessee never reached 20 points, and the game never truly felt in doubt. More than the score though, it was the way Ohio State played. Loose, physical, and aggressive that told everyone this was a different team than the one that had stumbled against Michigan. This win almost made the Michigan loss more frustrating, but nonetheless, this was a big step forward for Ryan Day. That win set up a cross-country trip to Pasadena and a quarterfinal showdown with the unbeaten top-seeded Oregon Ducks in the Rose Bowl. This was the statement opportunity people had been saying Day and Ohio State couldn't seize anymore, but instead of shrinking, they produced one of the most dominant first halves you'll ever see in a playoff setting. Ohio State stormed out to a 34-0 lead before halftime, pushing around a Ducks team that had spent the year bullying everyone else on its schedule, including them in week 2. That was a brutal game to watch, a brutal finish. The Buckeyes passing game punished Oregon's secondary with precision and depth, and the run game took complete control of the line of scrimmage. The defense was swarming and connected and didn't let Oregon breathe until the game was effectively over. When the dust settled on a 41-21 win, it was clear this wasn't just a team peaking late, it was one of the most complete rosters in the sport, finally playing up to its capability on the biggest possible stage. From there, the road only got tougher, but the identity kept sharpening. The semifinal in the Cotton Bowl against Texas was in every way basically a road game, even though Ohio State fans travel well. Longhorn fans packed the building, Texas came in off a first-round win and a quarterfinal demolition, and the question came up again. Could Ohio State handle a heavyweight fight in a hostile environment? The answer came from both the locker room leadership and the defense. The game turned into a physical grinder of a contest with both teams trading punches and field position. Then came the defining playoff moment for Jack Sawyer, a forced fumble, loose ball, and the veteran defensive end scooped it, taking it 83 yards the other way for a touchdown that broke the game open and became the signature play of Ohio State's entire run. That scoop and score didn't just tilt the scoreboard, it embodied everything people had claimed this program lacked. Instinct, toughness, and the ability to produce game-changing plays with everything on the line. The Buckeyes finished off Texas 28-14, punching their ticket to the national championship in Atlanta. The final chapter of the run came against Notre Dame, a program that had spent the season building its own case as the most complete team in the country. This wasn't a fluke title game matchup. The Irish were the 2 seed, the winners of a physical path through Indiana and then Penn State in the semis. For Ohio State, it was all on the table. Everything Day had been criticized for, every question about whether the Buckeyes could finish. Notre Dame pushed them, and the game stayed tight into the fourth quarter, but once again, Ohio State leaned on its balance. The offense punched in enough scores to stay ahead. The defense got the stops it had to have, and a late bomb to Jeremiah Smith sealed a 34-23 win that left no doubt about who owned this season. In the end, the Buckeyes had done something no team had ever done, win 4 straight playoff games in a 12-team bracket, with all 4 victories coming by double digits. Along the way, they beat Tennessee, Oregon, Texas, and Notre Dame, and finished with wins over 6 top 10 teams in the final AP poll, including Penn State and Indiana from the regular season. When people talk about the toughest road to a title, this run will always be one of the first examples, no matter what happens over the next few decades. What made that season so special wasn't just the hardware, it was how the roster evolved and who stepped up into those X-Factor roles. The veteran leaders, players like Cody Simon, kept the locker room together when the noise was at its loudest, constantly talking about stacking days and building a foundation that would hold up when the pressure hit its peak. Up front, the line that had been questioned after the Michigan loss responded by controlling some of the best defensive fronts in the country over 4 straight playoff games, and the defensive front led by guys like Sawyer really turned into a finishing unit. The secondary also held up through a gauntlet of elite quarterbacks and schemes. The offense used its depth at receiver and in the backfield to attack matchups rather than forcing the same answers every week. It wasn't one superstar dragging everyone along. It wasn't just Jeremiah Smith or Abuka. It was a complete operation finally synced to the vision Day had been selling since he took over. The offseason after that title was as important as the run itself. Modern college football doesn't give anyone time to breathe. As soon as the confetti was cleaned up in Atlanta, the focus shifted to the transfer portal, recruiting, and building the 2025 depth chart. Ohio State had already been aggressive before the championship, but the title run only supercharged the momentum. The Buckeyes landed one of the premier tight ends in the portal in Max Clare, a player widely viewed as the top transfer at the tight end position, giving the offense a reliable, versatile weapon in the middle of the field to pair with its receiver talent. They added running back C.J. Donaldson from West Virginia, a big physical back who reshaped his body and role to fit what Ohio State wanted, and his arrival along with young talent like James Peoples and obviously Bo Jackson gave the Buckeyes a deep, diverse backfield. Heading into 2025, the conversation wasn't about whether Ohio State would contend, it was about how dominant this team could be. Preseason depth chart projections laid out a lineup that combined returning contributors from the title run with portal additions and ascending young talent. At quarterback, the Buckeyes had stability with Julian Sand and Lincoln Keenholz, with the expectation that whoever emerged would be surrounded by as much offensive firepower as any passer in the country. And the schedule gave the Buckeyes an immediate test. They hosted Texas in Lee Corso's final game day, but for the first time in a while, the opponent was actually the team with all the pressure and the hype to live up to. So the Buckeyes played relaxed and used great game management to control their way to a 14-7 grinded out defensive win. There were definitely spots that the offense could have been better, but nonetheless, Texas was the 1 seed at the time, and a big win is a big win no matter how you get it, and from there, the Buckeyes just coasted to 11 straight wins. I don't think anyone intended for the schedule to be so easy. Penn State completely fell off, Washington ended up not being ranked, Illinois was ranked high at the time of their matchup, but all of that stuff is outside of their control. They have dominated every opportunity they have gotten. But now comes the biggest test in Ann Arbor against Michigan, just 24 hours from the time of this video. It all comes down to this. If Ryan Day wins this one, everything that happened the last 3 years will be erased, and the Buckeyes just have to play their game and be fearless. They are better at nearly every position. They just have to play aggressive and get the football to their playmakers, especially Jeremiah Smith and Tate. So that's the redemption story of Ryan Day and the Buckeyes. Obviously, this story is still being written, but the path to get to where this team is has not been easy. That's all I got for this one. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Let me know what you would like to see next. Until then, I will see you all later.